In today's video, I'll be showing you how to build a force for Firefight. Firefight is a army level game, and as such kinda needs a force organisation chart, for want of a better term. The term was kind of coined by 40k, and while it still is a thing, as far as I'm aware, isn't really as much of a thing as it used to be. Now games usually have their own ways of building forces, usually by having you have one unit to unlock another unit of a various type, be it a troop type to unlock elite types, or having multiple troop types to unlock a big tank, for example. Different ones do different things, but as we're on about Firefight here, I'll show you how it works with Firefight. For this video, I'll be using Forge Fathers as the example, and I'll be taking it as if I was buying a Forge Father Strike Force, just using everything in the box. You could use other things, but just to keep things simple and just to give you the basics, I'll just be using that. The very first thing you need is either the rulebook or the companion app. The companion app, you'll need a subscription model to get the entire rule set, which I think it's only a couple quid, £3-4 at most, just for that game a month. Or you could get the rulebook, which is 30 quid and gets access to all the rules, including army lists and so on. Let's go through the unit types first, as this will be the basics of how you make your army. To start with, you'll need a commander. Such example, this Forge Guard Huskarl. Now, commanders are usually in two categories. Either single models of various sizes that can mostly take between 2 to 4 models of a retinue, or bodyguard, whichever you prefer, and will take damage and die before the commanders do. This is the same with squads. Their leaders die last before the squads do. Leaders also have their own commands, which is separate to the universal commands and faction specific commands. The leader commands can only be used when the leader activates, unlike faction commands that can be used when a unit activates. In both cases, you need to be within the radius of the leader. For most commands, including certain leader commands, you need to be within 12 inch. You can take multiple commanders, but the first one is free, and you have to take a commander first before you can take anything else. Troops are next, and these should be the most numerous of your units because they are essentially the backbone, and it's where you basically unlock everything else from. For every troop you can take either another command or a specialist, and for every 2 troops you can take a support. Now I've got 2 troops here. We've got a squad of 7 Steel Warriors, and we've got a squad of 6 Brockers. Like with command models, it's best if you denote what the unit leader is with either a different paint job to the helmet, an open helmet, or a different pose, just to give it a different feel. So for example, the Steel Warriors, the leader is denoted by this one here because of the open helmet, the different pose, and the fact it's a blue helmet rather than everyone else's red helmets. With the Brockers, the leader in this one is the one with the scanner and with a moustache, not a full beard. While troops are between usually 5 and 15 models, sometimes they can be a bit less depending on if they're a bit more elite, such as the Asterians with 3 models basic for the Ciphers, or you could go really big with 30 models for zombies for the Plague. Specialists are next, and as the name suggests, they're more specialised. Sometimes they are used to take out a specific enemy unit, such as tank hunters just having missile launchers, or they could have numerous other special weapons, or in the case of the Forge Guard, just being an elite unit that's high points, but really good at pretty much anything. A squad of 6 here with a magma cannon and a missile launcher is friggin' expensive, as I say, but it will get the job done. In some cases, however, it can be a vehicle. Sometimes it will be a transport with medium to heavy armour, and medium transport capacities, usually transporting anywhere between 6 and 10 models. In some cases it could also just be a lighter vehicle that has just got a single weapon and is just used to scout around, maybe doing a little bit of damage here and there. Sometimes you can also increase the squad size of vehicles, in this example, just to give it a bit more oomph. This one can have up to 2 models in the unit, which make the Hulter half-track a not bad unit to take as 2. You could give them both different weapons, even the leader. Yes, even for vehicles, they do have leaders, and you do have to denote which one is which. The final one is the support. Now, these are usually big vehicles, or usually flying options, but sometimes they can also be big models, which sometimes can be in squads of 2, but usually they are big support models that can usually do a lot of damage, or walkers, or in this case, the Sturmhammer battle tank. These are usually heavily armoured and have a lot of firepower to back themselves up. Even the big infantry models, such as the Hulks, carry a huge anti-tank gun which can throw down a lot of firepower. They also have a fair amount of health, so taking even one down at once ain't easy. So a Steel Warrior Huskarl, regardless of what weapons you want to give them, is 80 points. They come with a shoot of 4, an assault of 4, which, on the game that uses 8-sided dice, is quite good. He's got armour 6 and 2 health, so it's fairly durable for what he is. He's also got heavy armour, which, unless you've got an anti-tank weapon, yeah, it's going to be even harder to wound him. You can give him up to 4 Storm Rage veterans, with either a Hellstorm rifle, or a pistol and a hammer. I'm going to give them rifles, just so they've got a bit of range capabilities. I'm going to go for the full 4, which means this unit comes altogether at 168 points. Now, we will be using 1,000 points, so let's see how well we can do with just using the Strike Force box. So now we need some troops, but only limited by the strike box. We only have a choice of 2, technically 3. These being the Wrecker squads, the Steel Warrior squads, and the APC transport. Now, the APC transport is nice and all, but let's face it, you're probably going to use it as one of the big tanks. So, let's see what else we can do. Wreckers are a cheap anti-infantry unit, and is really good against units that like to take cover a lot, and that are good with stealth capabilities, as it burns weapons always hit on force regardless of modifiers. Yes, they can't hit aircraft, but I mean, it's a flamer. Are you really going to expect a flamethrower to hit an aircraft? Normally, honestly. They are 80 points for 5, and you can give the leader a flamer as well, but just to give him a bit of close combat capabilities, I'm opted to keep him with a pistol and a hammer. Now, the pistol is the same range as the flamers, it's just that the hammer also has more dice in close combat, and the pistol also has AP, so you've got a little bit of arm piercing capabilities there. Steel Warriors are next, and here's where we can get a little bit more flexible in not how big we can take the squads, because we're limited with how many models. You only get 30 Steel Warriors, and there's also elite variants to go for in the specialist options, so let's not go big with squad sizes, but let's take some special weapons. In this, I've kept it as a squad of 5, but added a missile launcher and an autocannon. I've also replaced the pistol and the hammer on the leader with a rifle because I do want them all to keep the same range. Adding all that up for a squad of 5 will be 125 points. Just remember, unless an ability or weapon says otherwise, you choose who dies, but remember, the squad leader dies last. That means, although you can choose who dies in the squad, this little guy here always has to die last. So, it's 125 points for a squad with this setup. I'm going to duplicate it twice more for having 3 squads of 5. So, now we've extinguished the troops, we're now going to go on to specialists. In the box, we've only got really a choice of 2. Again, the Forge Guard, which we'll do first, and the Storm Rage Veterans. Starting with the Forge Guard, there's a squad of 6 here, but I do feel just using the Strike Force, it's going to be an expensive game to do so. So, what I'm going to do is remove 2 and just leave it with a squad of 4. The reason being is that they are very elite, and the amount of shots they can do and how durable they are, it ain't going to be that easy to take them down. And if the opponent is foolish enough to let them go into close combat, yeah, they've got 3 dice each. That's 12 dice from 4 models. To do that is 150 points for 4. So let's add that on. Even though we have more specialists to go for, we really don't have that many points. For what we've taken so far in our army, we've only got 227 points left. So let's look to the support options, as because we've got 4 troops, we could have potentially 2. So let's start with the most obvious, and the one that's going to be the big tank in the room, the Sturmhammer battle tank. Now, we've got 3 missile launchers and 3 autocannons. This makes it fairly decent at anti-infantry and anti-aircraft, but we need some anti-armour capabilities. This is where this comes in. It might only have 2 dice, which doesn't seem like much, but it's AP6, which basically dominates near enough any armour going. I mean, hell, even if you're against another battle tank like this, which needs 9s, normally you need 3s to wound it. So it's not really that much of an issue. Plus you've got devastating D2+1, which means, yes, you probably won't kill a tank a turn, but you'll heavily wound it. Which means pretty much anything can mop it up. If you don't kill it, which there's a high chance you will. But if you don't, it's not going to stand there that often. I also want to give it the Dozer Blade, which not only increases its close combat capabilities, but also increases its armour to 9. Yes, it makes it slower, but with an armour of 9, you need some serious anti-tank weapons to take it down. To do this is 180 points. Now we have 47 points left over from the 1,000 points, which doesn't really give us that much left, but let's swap things around a bit. The Steel Warrior Huskarl is great and all, and it does do quite well. But do we instead want a heavier commander? I suggest swapping him out for this. The Forge Guard Huskarl with 1 bodyguard near him. This makes it 125 points, and so gives you 90 points to spend. But where can we spend this? What I've done is increase the squad sizes of my Steel Warrior squads. I'm going to have 1 squad of 6 models and 2 squads of 7 models. This means there's more bullets flying around and also more bodies to take the bullets. A quick run through of what's in the army for 1,000 points. We have our command, which is the Forge Guard Huskarl, and his bodyguard, which is 125 points. The squad of 5 wreckers, which is 80 points. The squad of 6 Steel Warriors with autocannon and missile launcher, which is 143 points. The 2 squads of 7 Steel Warriors, each with an autocannon and missile launcher, for 161 points. The squad of 4 Forge Guard, which is 150 points. And the Sturmhammer battle tank with Dozer Blade and heavy magma cannon for 180 points. This doesn't use all the models from the Forge Fathers Strike Force box, but because Forge Fathers are quite expensive, because they are really, really elite, you're not going to. But this does give you options for later on. You could add Storm Rage veteran units, you could increase the squad sizes of Steel Warriors even further if you want. You could, of course, have 2 commanders in the midst if you so wish, which is perfectly well to do. And of course, if you want to play Firefight further, it's rather recommended that you do have at least 2 commanders, so you can split your force on where you want commands to go. So, I do hope this video has been helpful. Thank you, and goodbye for now.